And now a warm welcome to Rabbi Stewart Weiss, who will tell us about this week's Parsha. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Well, we've reached the end of the book of Bamidbar, and at long last we have come to this final Parsha of Maseh, which means journeys. It's been a long journey since the beginning of this very dramatic book, fourth book of the Torah. And through this desert experience, the Jewish people have experienced virtually all the highs and lows that one could experience, war and struggling with all the various elements of the desert, but also experiencing great miracles like the eating of the man, the pillar of cloud, the pillar of fire. What I find interesting when looking back at this whole book, Sefer Bamidbar, from the very beginning, the word Bamidbar in Hebrew is an interesting word because technically it means desert, because this is the 40 years journey in the desert. But the word Bamidbar has another meaning. The root of it comes from the Hebrew word daber, or speak. And much of what is in this book has to do with speaking. We begin with, for example, the vow of the Nazir, who vows to live an ascetic life, not cutting his hair, not drinking wine. We have the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing that's given. We also have some negative speech. We have the Lashon Hara, the slander of Miriam and Aaron against their brother Moshe. And we have the Meraglim, the spies who speak bad about Israel. And then we have countering them, Kalev and Yefunah, who stand up and speak, strengthen the people and speak about the ability to live and to conquer Israel. We have the rebellion of Korach against Moshe. We have the talking donkey. So, and last week the Parsha talked about making promises and keeping promises. So there's a lot in this book that has to do with speaking. So I suggest that one of the really strong themes of the whole book of Bamidbar is the idea of being responsible for what you say. That the Jewish people, what we are most known for is the power of speech. It can be expressed in prayer, it can be expressed in learning and speaking about the Torah, but we also have to be careful that we control that speech, because speech can be very, very destructive. The old poem...
So how do we apply that to our daily lives?
Well, so I think, again, I think it's a kind of moral instruction for us that don't make promises you can't keep, and be careful how you speak to others, because as opposed to what the old poem says, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me, the Torah says names can indeed hurt very much, and you have to be responsible for what you speak. But I also want to point out that it's interesting that the very last item in this whole book talks about the incident of the daughters, the 5 daughters of Tzlafchad, who stand up and speak out because they feel there's an injustice against them. They feel that they're going to lose their part of the ancestral inheritance of the land. And because they so deeply love Israel, and they want to have a stake in the land and a part of the land, they take what then must have been a very radical step of 5 women who stand up to Moshe, and they say to him, Moshe, something's not right with the inheritance laws, because the way they stand now, we would lose, because we are 5 daughters and no sons, our family would lose its land. And Moshe actually goes back to God and says, what do I do in this case? And God instructs him that these women are correct, that we have to alter the inheritance laws to make sure that they keep their land. So 2 lessons that tells me. 1, never be afraid to speak up when you feel there's some kind of injustice. And secondly, I think the Torah chose to end this whole book on this one incident that talks about the love of the land of Israel. That was a constant theme throughout, as we talked about those who were speaking in favor of entering Israel, those who were speaking against. But the very last word, so to speak, in a book that talks a lot about words, is these women stepping up and saying, demonstrating their love of the land and saying, we have to be able to have our fair share in the land. And
now, what's interesting about that, though, is, in this case, we're seeing people speak up and justice is served. But what happens in a case when you're speaking up and justice is not served?
Well, you have to keep on trying. We're in a constant struggle always of good versus evil and right versus wrong and justice versus injustice. But the Torah is telling us that, there are always going to be two sides, but don't be afraid to speak up for what you believe in. So it must have been a courageous thing for these women to speak up in that kind of society. Today, of course, it's more universal that men and women speak their mind. But certainly then, that must have been really a very brave thing for them to do. And I think that's a very important message, that stand up and speak up for what you believe in, but also this idea that permeates the whole book, the love of Israel. And today, when there is unfortunately so much negative speech about Israel and so many people defaming and slandering Israel, it's even doubly more important for people to stand up and to tell it like it is and to tell the truth about what's going on in Israel and counter some of the false impressions that people are giving through their speech against Israel.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about this weekly Parsha?
Well, I think that the word mas'eh, journeys, is also interesting in that we do in the beginning of the Parsha catalog all the places where the Jewish people stopped between leaving Egypt and then coming to the border of Israel. But I think that it also sends a message, at least on a personal level, that every person has to at some point take accounting of the journeys of your life and where you began and who accompanied you on that journey and what things you did that you look back and you say, that was the right thing to do, and perhaps you look back and say, that was an opportunity that was missed. So I believe that most of what we learn in the Torah should be experienced and not just examined in a kind of intellectual way. So I think the Torah is also telling us that each of us take a personal journey, and we ought to recognize where we've come from and how we got here and where we're going to.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Rabbi.
Pleasure to be here.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom.